Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
We are doctors
and weight management and metabolic health experts.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast.
Good morning, my gorgeous friend. How are you today? It's Dr. Lucy here on a beautiful Melbourne morning. And I have a special guest, another Melburnian, a real life woman. And I would like to welcome to the podcast, Kerri. You will love her story. She's got lots and lots of pearls of wisdom because she has been on her own health and weight loss journey and has nearly cracked the 50 kilo mark of weight loss. And whilst you all know that we don't look at numbers on the scales as being the only measure of good health, what I think this does show is that she has put in some considerable effort to change some of the things she used to do. So, Kerri, I would love to hear your story, darling.
Thanks, Dr. Lucy. It's really nice to be here. As you've just mentioned, I've lost a huge amount of weight over the last almost 2 years, and I have lipedema, and so I've been struggling with weight gain and, yo-yo dieting for a long time. During the pandemic and after the pandemic, I was, working really hard and burnt out and putting in everyone else's needs ahead of mine, and so my weight had just gone up and up and up, and I really felt like there wasn't really much I could do about it. It got to a pretty bad state. I was thinking, I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to do my job anymore unless I deal with this. So I started going to a lymphedema therapist, a physiotherapist named Helen Eason in Melbourne, who is fantastic.
Yeah, we love Helen.
Yeah, and such an amazing cheer squad for me. She's been really amazing, and she put me onto the Real Life Medicine podcast. So I started listening to that religiously. I listened to, from episode 1 all the way through to about episode 50, I think, and I was totally hooked straight away and figured that, well, I can try low carb for a week or two. It's not going to do any harm. One of the standard or the current popular treatments for lipedema is a keto diet, which is basically just a super low carb diet. So I tried that, and I really didn't do anything else. I wasn't counting anything. I wasn't adding up anything. I wasn't too stressed about it. But the weight just started coming off, which was amazing, given that everything else I tried was a real struggle. So I kept on with that. And because of what the podcast was telling me, I realized, I needed to do some exercise as well. I started thinking, well, maybe that's actually possible. If I start losing weight, it'll be a bit easier to walk around. So I made some pretty radical changes. So I stepped down from a fairly senior role in my workplace. I went down to a 0.8 job. So I had a day off a week. I started taking care of my sleep. I started walking for half an hour every day. Well, eventually it got to half an hour every day. It started out with me putting on my runners and walking to the park and then home again. I wasn't getting very far, but at least I was, getting some kind of routine in. So after about a week of doing that, then I'd venture into the park and do, walk to the first seat in the park and then sit there for a while and then come home again. And eventually I'm up to now half an hour, sometimes a little bit longer, of a rigorous walk. So from being worried about, a fire evacuation at work and whether I'd be able to evacuate quickly enough, to walking for 2.5 kilometres a day over about a year of effort in that has been pretty amazing. And I've lost a lot of weight along with that.
Yeah, I love that. And what I love is that you've really looked at, one of our theories is the power of small steps. So it's not like you said, right, well, I need to do exercise, therefore I've got to do 45 minutes every day or I'll do nothing. You started with small and built up.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, small was all I could manage. And I figured, well, it's something I can do. I'll try it. I didn't really hold out much hope, but it was effective and it became easier and easier every day.
Yeah. And I think that's the key. It has to start small. Otherwise we give up. It feels too hard. It's like climbing a mountain when you're just looking at the top, whereas really it's about just doing that one step at a time. A little bit is better than nothing. And then you can build on that little bit. So I love that.
Yeah. And that climbing a mountain thing is absolutely true, because now looking back, it's been a bit over 18 months, I think. I started in April 23 and I'm amazed to be able to say I've lost as much weight as I have now. I never thought that would be possible. But here I am. I just did, a little bit each day, and I made sure I did it every single day, no matter what. And it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, I love that. But yes, you're right. At the start, if you go, oh my God, I've got to lose 50 kilos, people go, oh, that's so hard. I'm never going to do it. It's going to take forever. And it does. It does take a long time. It's not like it's going to happen, in a week.
Yeah. And even if you could, that's not going to be a good way to do it anyway. I'm really conscious of trying to make sure that I'm not overdoing it. I'm being sensible. I'm not getting too obsessed by this.
Yeah. So what sort of mind tricks, I guess, do you use? Do you ever have times where it feels like, oh my God, this is taking forever, or how do I keep going with this? Like what sort of self-talk do you do?
One of the things that has really helped is making sure that I've made it as easy as possible to get up in the morning to go for a walk, because I knew with any excuse I would give up. So I started, I'd shower at night, so I didn't need to worry about that in the morning. I'd have all my clothes laid out next to my bed, so as soon as I opened my eyes, they'd be there. I was making sure I got to bed earlier so that I wasn't fighting off still being tired when the alarm went off in the morning. That made a big difference. I'm pretty competitive, so I've been, tracking everything on my Apple Watch and making sure that I'm, exceeding yesterday's goals, or at least meeting the targets, has been a really good mind trick for me. I've also tried to avoid, as you said earlier on, I haven't been paying too much attention to the scales. I'm only letting myself be weighed about once every 6 weeks. So it's not about, am I a kilo lighter than I was a week ago? It's just about making sure I'm moving and doing the right things, and I'm feeling good, and I'm enjoying the fact that, I've got to do lots more clothes shopping. That's been fun. Yeah, and I think it's about listening to my body, really, which I think I've learnt from the podcast. I'm a rule follower, and I've done all of the other diets in the past where you count points or count calories or whatever. But this feels much more empowering, that idea that the podcast talks about all the time about you are the boss of you. I'm making these decisions. It's not me following a set of strict rules that someone else has imposed on me. That's helped a lot too.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what else I love there is that you're tracking, but what you're tracking is your behaviours. You're tracking how many times you've gone for a walk, or how many, I don't know if you're tracking sleep and things like that. But when we focus on the process, the results just come. Whereas for a lot of people, they focus on the results, and the result, in their mind is the number on the scales. So they spend all this time obsessing over that. Whereas in fact, if they actually took some of that away from the scales and turned it into, well, instead of tracking my weight every day or hopping on the scale 6 times a day, what if I tracked what time I go to bed, or how many times I go for a walk, or how long I go for a walk for, or what time I stop eating in the evenings. If you focus on those things, then the rest comes along.
Yeah, that's right. Things like how many minutes of exercise have I done in a day were the focus early on. Now I'm looking much more at the pace I'm walking at. How many seconds does it take me to walk a kilometre? And I can see how that's improved over time. I've got all these other stats on the health app on the Apple Watch about my walking symmetry and my step length and all of those kinds of things. And they've all improved. Slowly, but, as I reached one goal, I would start looking at some of the other metrics, and following the behaviours has made a huge difference.
Oh, I love that. It's wonderful. So you made a decision, time to do something. Mobility was getting impaired, worried about your job, or getting, as you said, getting out of the building safely should there be a fire. And then you've gone, right, I'm going to do low carb. I'm going to do some movement. As part of doing movement, it sounds like you've started going to bed earlier anyway, and making sure you had enough sleep so you weren't too tired to do your movement. You reduce some of your stress by changing work role somewhat and having time off. So, they're your 4 S's basically of your sustenance, your strength, your stress and sleep. And they helped you come a really long way by the sounds of things. And then it sounds like you needed a little bit more help. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I lost about 28 kilos on the low carb and the walking. But I'm preparing for surgery later this year, and there was a weight target that the surgeon had given me, and I was a bit worried I wasn't going to meet that target. The weight loss was still happening, but it slowed down, and so I was worried about the timeline I was working to. I think if it hadn't been for the surgery, I would have just kept doing what I was doing. But I had a deadline. So in August 24, I started taking Wegovy, and that accelerated, returned the weight loss to what I'd had early on. So that's helped me lose the last 20 kilos, and that's been really good. However, I was a bit worried about the effects and, whether it was a sensible thing to do. So I'd done lots of reading and research, and I knew that I didn't want to just put all of the eggs in that basket, so to speak, stop doing all of the other things. So I've been reading a lot about the importance of protein and strength training and so on when you're taking any of these weight loss medications. So I've really focused on those things as well, so that I see Wegovy as just one of the many things I'm doing to look after my health and improve my metabolic health and my weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, there are lots of people, and we see this, women and blokes as well, who do low carb and they lose a significant amount of weight and then it plateaus out. And then, they kind of keep thinking, what else can I do? What can I change? And for a lot of them, there's not much more they can change. So we know that the injectable weight loss medications, the GLP-1s, act on some of our metabolic hormones. So again, as you know, because we love saying this, that weight loss is all about hormones. It really is a hormonal process, and it's metabolic hormones, and metabolic hormones are influenced by a number of our lifestyle factors. But for some people, having that extra tool in their shed, it's not cheating. Like, people think it's cheating. It's not. It's just using something else that is going to help you.
Yeah. And I think that the way it helped me the most obvious, the way I'm conscious of it helping, was that it turned off all of the food noise, all of the difficulty about, I want to eat some rice, or I want some pasta, or I want some chocolate. It turned all of that off. And so it made it much easier to stick to the low carb lifestyle. However, it's done a whole lot of other things for my body, which I'm kind of fascinated by. Like, my sense of smell is suddenly much more acute. It's bizarre, but interesting.
Interesting. Yes.
And I think that, I'm assuming that all of the insulin resistance and all of those things that it's working on a hormonal level are working as well. Otherwise, the weight loss wouldn't be what seems, at least at the moment, to be quite healthy for me. Like, I feel great. I feel like I've got lots of energy. I don't feel like I'm doing anything dangerous. I'm monitoring. I've stayed at a fairly low dose, so I haven't gone up to all of the increases of dosage that are recommended by the manufacturer. So I feel like I've got it low enough to be working to supplement all of the other things I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, you've just highlighted another one of our favorite points, which is we want people to use the lowest effective dose. You're right. The manufacturers would like you to use the highest dose because then they get to sell more of their product. But we are big fans of the lowest effective dose. And in order to get the lowest effective dose, the best way to achieve that is to optimize your lifestyle factors as well. So you're right. I mean, Wegovy is not going to make you go for a walk. But for some people, it can be, they lose a little bit of weight, and maybe they start off with Wegovy or semaglutide or tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro. Maybe they start off with that. They then lose a bit of weight, and then they go, actually, I'm now confident or comfortable enough to go for a walk. I think the danger is when people just do that one thing. They just take the medication and they don't change anything else. So they don't get the health benefits of movement. They don't get the health benefits of more sleep. They don't get the health benefits of good nutrition, vitamins, minerals. They don't actually get any of that. So, yeah, they get weight loss, but they don't actually gain health. So I love what you've done because you've gained health.
Yeah, it does feel that way. And I've read a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff in the media about all the people who lose weight with Wegovy or Ozempic or any of the other GLP-1s who then pile weight on again as soon as they stop. But I know that's not going to happen to me because I'm still going to do the walking. I'm still going to stay low carb. I'm still going to be looking after my sleep. All of those things are going to keep me in good shape, much better shape than I've ever been in before.
Yeah. You've been doing this for 2 years. So when people go, oh my God, it's going to take so long. Yeah, it is going to take a long time, but actually living takes a long time. Health takes a long time. It's not something you do once and then it's done. It's about developing those habits that you can then do for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. I've lost a bunch of weight in 2 other previous times using other, well-known diets, but it was like holding my breath. I couldn't sustain it for the rest of my life. I was really disciplined, I was focused, and did all the right things, I followed all the rules, and it worked. But as soon as I tried to, relax a little bit and just, live my life, it all fell apart again. Whereas what I'm doing now feels really sustainable. I hope that I can keep doing this for, decades, because it's sometimes hard to get up in the morning and go for the walk, but it's not anywhere near as hard as the other things I tried previously.
Yeah. And it's also not anywhere near as hard as the trajectory you were heading on.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard a saying which I think is pretty well known about choose your hard. It's either hard now or it's hard later. And I got the feeling that it was going to get really hard really quick unless I started doing something radical while I still had a chance, before I kind of really fell off the cliff of ill health.
Yeah. Another question I had for you, I hear anecdotally people who are on the GLP-1s who have lipedema. So again, lovely listener, if you haven't heard us talk about lipedema in the past, it's a condition that affects, our body fat. So it actually affects the connective tissue between the fat cells, and that connective tissue becomes quite leaky and accumulates a lot of fluid around it, and then gets scarring and nodules, and it's inflammatory and it's quite painful, and it doesn't usually respond to something like straight out calorie reduction, which is what dieting used to be. It was just all about just reduce your calories, doesn't matter about anything else. But what I'm hearing is people are finding that their pain in particular improves with the GLP-1s. I don't know whether you had a lot of pain with your lipedema or what you've noticed with it. Have you noticed anything specific?
There's so many contributing factors. It's hard to really pinpoint anything to a specific cause, but certainly my overall pain is reduced. So I did get quite a bit of pain. I don't think it was, awful. And it certainly wasn't all the time. But, the number of times that I think about, oh, maybe I'll take a painkiller now is way lower than it used to be. I'm able to sleep better because there's less pain at night. So, yeah, it has definitely helped. It hasn't removed the pain, but it's helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I think, in general, women with lipedema will often feel better on a lower carbohydrate diet, whether that's ketogenic or just lower carbs, because again, carbohydrates retain fluid, within our muscles. We've already got, women with lipedema already have a fluid issue. So we want to be able to reduce that fluid load. So even doing that can make them feel better initially. But yeah, I've heard, again, for some women that the GLP-1s in particular just reduce the heaviness that they feel in their legs. And again, that makes it easier to move.
Yeah. And I've done lots of other things in that same time period to manage the lipedema as well. So I've been wearing compression, I've been using a compression pump, I've just started using a vibration plate. All of those things are supposed to help with lipedema, pain and fluid retention. So like I said, it's hard to know which thing really has made the difference, but I think like the weight loss, it's been a combination of doing all of the things as well as I can has come together as being a really nice formula for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to finish off, you're absolutely right. There's no one magic bullet. There's no one thing. It's doing all the things, and you don't have to do all the things in one go. But if you can build on your portfolio of, weight loss tricks, then you will find over time, focusing on the good food, good sleep, stress management, some movement, some strength training, some social connection, plus or minus medication. And for women with lipedema, the other conservative things, as you mentioned, compression, MLD, vibration, whatever it is that works for you, doing all of those things, you got to kind of do them all.
Yeah. Like I can say now I've got a long list of things I've been doing, but like you said, I didn't start doing all of them at once. That would have been impossible. I just started with putting on my runners and walking to the park and switching my diet over to a low carb thing. And then, over time, I've just gradually added more and more in. And I've got some more things to try this year. And as I feel stronger and more confident about what I can manage, I can try new things.
I love that. Well, Kerri, you have been amazing. Again, I think just for people out there, it feels like such a long way to go. But honestly, the journey is the journey and it's life. And what you're actually doing is it's not such a long haul. What you're doing along the way is gaining skills and confidence. And basically, we're doing this for life. So don't think about how far you've got to go. You're going to do it all the time anyway. And what I always say to people is, honestly, the thing you do to lose the weight is the thing you do to maintain it. So it has to be something that is manageable, that you like doing, that you tweak, that you curate all the time and find your path.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, I can absolutely keep doing all of these things. I mean, hopefully I can stop taking the Wegovy. I'm not really wanting to be on that for life, but, the walking and reduced stress and sleep, it's just leading to a more enjoyable life anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that, Kerri. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast. And lovelies, just think about, whenever you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, just think, oh, well, Kerri will be up. She'll be walking. I better go.
I will. That's true.
Awesome. All right, lovely friend. I will see you again next week. Thanks for listening. Bye for now. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.